having a terrible trade imbalance in this country. We get level playing fields in trade so that we can have free and fair trade and a clear and free market for currency. And we need to get energy independence in this country because, as I mentioned before, it is not only a financial issue, it's an issue for national security. And Congress needs to make sure that they do things that will restore confidence in the economy. And that starts with balancing the budget. When I talk about balancing the budget, I'm not talking about raising taxes. I'm talking about lowering spending. And my proposal that I put forth is the 2003's levels of 2009 spending. That represents about a 16% cut from 2010. And on a $3.6 trillion budget, that's a darn good place to start. I also think that Congress needs to take a look at the legislation that they have passed, because much of it has not met the objectives that we were promised. They should repeal the TARP bill, and they should repeal the stimulus bill. And the leftover money there should be put back into the Treasury to pay down the debt. If you go to the polls on May 18th, go to the bottom. I'm number 6 on the ballot. They save the best till last. I bragged for some time about the 18 that I put together for this campaign. And this is the 18 right here in front of me. And people in Warren, Erie, and the rest of the counties. I can tell you with a great deal of certainty, my farming background tells me that when you put someone in Washington, D.C. come next January, make sure you put a workhorse that can pull the load and not a show horse. Wow.
I too would like to thank y'all for coming out tonight. It's great to see so many people getting engaged in this election because, believe it or not, this is a very important election. It's 2010. I fear that if we don't act decisively this election cycle to take back control of our government, we may be lost. My message is simple, folks. Not a politician, never thought I ever would be. But I'm a guy, just like you, that got tired of our party sending people to D.C. that are not true conservatives and want to fight for our values. I am tired of compromise. Compromise is a word that should not be used in D.C. Compromise has its place for naming post offices and federal buildings. But when we're talking about large pieces of legislation that impact a great portion of our economy, and people say they don't want it, what frustrates me with D.C. is there's a bad bill on its face, and instead of arguing the merits of why that's a bad bill and it should not go forward, our party in the past has gone and compromised and gave us something that they thought would be palatable to us. It's still a bad bill. Washington, D.C. is littered with compromises. And I say enough's enough. I'm tired of people in our party, like a Lindsey Graham, like Olympia Snow, all those people that will not stand up and fight. And we got one right here in PA, our own inspector. I don't think he's going to do too well this election cycle. Right? Not going to do well at all because people are tired of people that aren't representing the people and standing up and saying, no, enough is enough. We want you to stop. I would call it a Tea Party Act. It's conservative activist. Yeah, if that means that I love my country and don't like to see the debt that we're putting on our kids and want to see government constraint and control, yeah, okay, I'll wear that badge with honor. There's a lot of people like me out there. And we're growing every day. More and more people are starting to wake up. Can't thank you all enough. I'm number 1 on the ballot when you go to vote. Remember, grab for freedom, grab for liberty, grab for Congress. And if you want to hear more, come on out to Perkins tomorrow night here in Meadville. Bring your friends. We'll talk one-on-one and answer more of your questions. Thank you and God bless.
Over the last 16, 18 years, I've worked for conservative Republican candidates. Senator Santorum back in '94 and Representative English back in '94. I've carried their torches over the election process over the last 16, 18 years. And this year I've looked over the landscape and I thought to myself, I want to carry that torch because, like I said in my earlier statement, I feel that the average taxpayer and their families do not have a voice in Washington, D.C. That's the people that I have for friends and my neighbors and looking at the hardships they face each and every day. Many of them are laid off or underemployed, and we have a current administration and a current Democratic Congress and Senate that does not want to spend the time because they do not share those same concerns with the majority of Americans. And that's why I've taken the time to say, putting everything else in my life on hold and throwing my hat into this race. I want to be that voice for those taxpayers and their families. Excuse me. Like I said, I've been a lifelong Republican. I'm pro-life, an active pro-life member of the Crawford County Citizens for Life. I've been to Washington, D.C. 3 times. When I say that I'm pro-life, that means that I'm anti-abortion. That's what it means. Not like Kathy Delcamper, who ran on a pro-life plank in 2008 and fooled a lot of Republicans probably into voting for her just because that she said that she was pro-life. That doesn't hold water. I am the real true blue pro-life. I've walked the walk, not just talking and talk. Second Amendment also, I've been involved in the Second Amendment organization since '94. Support the Second Amendment right. But overall, I'm a fiscal conservative and I'm a social conservative. And I think that's what this country needs. Somebody who's going to take common sense solution to the practical problems that we face inside the Beltway. We need to stop the deficit spending, and we need to stop feeding that 800-pound gorilla called the national debt. Thank you for coming out tonight. God bless each and every one of you. Make sure you do the due diligence on each one of these candidates up here, and please vote for me on May 18th. I'm 5th on the ballot. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
I'm holding here a little document. It's the Constitution of the United States. During the past month and a half or so, we've given out over 1,500 of these to people. And I tell people this is an actual size that Thomas Jefferson had made. This is the foundation of our government and what it was structured on. And I said, imagine this health bill that they did. If this current administration was building this document, you'd need a semi-truck to haul it around. But one of the things that the Constitution, basically it set forth that common people would be representing everybody else in this country, that we would all have the opportunity to do that. And I think that all of us up here would welcome the opportunity to represent you. What I tell people is I am not a politician. I love what I do in the insurance business. I plan on serving a maximum of 3 terms and coming back and going back into the insurance business as long as there's an insurance industry that still exists at that point. But basically, I'm a statesman. And there's a difference. The statesman represents the people and focuses on the future. The politician represents the party, focuses on winning their election and then focusing on their next election. We have to get away from that. We've had way too much of that down there. What I tell people is I will go down, I will work hard for you. I will review the bills, read them, talk to people that will be affected by the bill to make sure before we vote on it that it's the right thing to be voting on so we don't have the unintended consequences that we've heard too much about. When I get down there, one of the things I plan to do, because people say, how will we know you won't get sucked into the system? Well, you bond with other people that are down there. We're going to have a lot of changes this November. And I'm going to team up with other freshmen, and we're going to be strong in numbers so that we don't get sucked into the system and pressure put upon us, because we're going to stick to what we believe in. We're not going to compromise. Most of us feel that way. We believe that we're going to go down there and truly represent the people, because I remind everybody, we're supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And my mission is to bring common sense government back to Washington, but to give Washington back to the people. So thank you again. Travel safe when we go home. We appreciate you being here.
I would like to remind you all that we have some cookies and punch at the top. I'd like to very quickly thank Mary Solberg, the program coordinator of the CPP, for helping bring this together. I want to thank you for coming out and hanging with us for a long debate. And I really want to thank the candidates. It's not easy to debate. I think it was a wonderful, substantive conversation, and you should be applauded. Thank you.